The court said, "Let's have the jurors brought in."
The law clerk said, "Jury entering."
Jury present.
The court said, "Please be seated and please call the next witness."
Mr. Finkel said, "Yes, Your Honor. The government calls Stephen Johnson."
Stephen Johnson, called as a witness by the government, having been duly sworn, testified as follows.
The court said, "Please state your name and spell it."
The witness said, Stephen Johnson, Stephen Johnson.
The court said, "You may be seated and speak into the microphone. You may inquire."
Direct examination. By Mr. Finkel.
Good afternoon, Mr. Johnson.
Hello.
Where do you work?
Securities and Exchange Commission.
What is the Securities and Exchange Commission?
It's a government agency that protects investors and investigates violations of securities fraud.
And is it independent from the Department of Justice?
Yes.
What is your title with the SEC?
Branch Chief.
Could you just briefly describe at a high level for the members of the jury what you do as a branch chief for the SEC?
I supervise a group of investigators in the New York Regional Office and I also participate in investigations.
Mr. Johnson, I'm going to ask you to point the microphone at your mouth. You can feel free to move it this way.
The court said, "The acoustics are not good in here. You have to speak right into it."
Mr. Finkel said, "Your Honor, may I approach?"
The court said, "You may."
Mr. Finkel said, "I'm approaching the witness with a USB drive which has been marked as GX37. Your Honor, I represent the USB drive contains the following government exhibits in the GXSM series, 11, 12, 17 to 21, 62, 73, 88, 96, 126 to 130, 133, 147, 149, 151, 155, 156, 159, 170, 176, 178, 180, 181, 183, 187, 189, 191, 201, 205, 206, 208, 210, 217, 218, 224, 226, 227, 233, 235, 237, 252, 264, 277, 283, 284, 287, 296 through 299 and 310. Mr. Johnson, do you recognize the USB drive I just handed you?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
I initialed it.
Have you reviewed the contents of that USB drive?
I have.
What's on it?
56 files that were part of a production from Soraka Media Group to the Securities and Exchange Commission in answer to a subpoena.
Mr. Finkel said, Your Honor, at this time the government offers SM in the SM series, 11, 12, 17, 18, 19, 21, 73, 96, 126, 127, 129, 130, 133, 147, 149, 151, 155, 156, 159, 170, 176, 178, 181, 210, 217, 218, 224, 226, 235, 252, 277, 283, 296 through 299.
Mr. Skirek said, "Objection, Your Honor. Can we have a brief sidebar, please?"
The court said, okay.
Continued on next page. At the sidebar,
Mr. Skirek said, "Our understanding, Your Honor, is that this witness from the SEC is going to testify about how the SEC received these documents. They're a production from Soraka, so I don't believe that this witness can authenticate the underlying documents. He can authenticate the fact that he can testify to the fact that the SEC received these documents. But as to authenticating the underlying documents themselves, he has no knowledge."
The court said, so has he inspected the documents? In other words, was he on the receiving end?
Mr. Skirek said, he said he reviewed the thumb drive.
The court said, go ahead.
Mr. Finkel said, "I'm happy to lay an additional foundation. What I expect this witness will testify to, so we can solve these issues at sidebar, is that he reviewed the SEC's storage of these materials. He compared them to the cover letters from the Soraka attorneys, verified the bait stamping matched those cover letters from Soraka's attorneys. He reviewed each and every file that was on the USB drive and compared it to what was stored on the SEC system. Was able to confirm based on his knowledge of the SEC document handling protocol that these documents were all produced by Soraka. These documents, I can also tell the court, are expense reports. In fact, Your Honor, this is an expense report which is similar to, but not exactly like, the other expense reports that would be found on this USB drive. This document was admitted into evidence already for Karen Maestrello. Karen Maestrello discussed during her testimony how this was a payment form that she was generally familiar with used by Soraka and Golden Spring. The documents that are on the USB drive are similar documents with similar signatures, similar identifying information, and the name Soraka Golden Spring. In addition, there are two other documents on the USB drive which we are seeking to admit, which are documents from Heyman. As the court may recall, Heyman received the investment from Soraka Media. The two documents that are on the USB drive are the final signed documents that Soraka signed, that Yvette Wong signed, that Max Krasner signed to finalize the Soraka investment agreement, and the letter that Haynes and Boone sent to Soraka to say, "Where is this money from?" So those documents are already in evidence from Steele Schottenheimer. She put them into evidence from what Heyman has, and they match what Soraka produced to the SEC. This is another way of saying, Your Honor, that there are multiple indications suggesting the authenticity of the documents on the USB which allow a reasonable juror to find that the documents are authentic.
Mr. Skirek said, "Your Honor, I think there's two issues here. One is the authenticity issue, and the maintaining objection that this witness cannot authenticate underlying Soraka documents. The most this witness can do based on his knowledge is to say that those documents were received by the SEC. Now if that's a fact that's the government wants to get in, that's fine. But as to the underlying documents, he can't authenticate the underlying Soraka documents."
The court said, I think that they're only trying to get him to say those are what the SEC received, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, "That's exactly right."
The court said, all righty. That's it. Let go.
continued on next page. In open court,
Mr. Finkel said, "The government renews its request to submit the exhibits."
The court said, if you could ask a few foundational questions, please.
by Mr. Finkel.
Mr. Johnson, how do you know that those materials were produced by Soraka to the SEC?
So when we issue a subpoena, it contains instructions on how to return the documents and in what format. And everyone's instructed to return documents to a centralized production unit or CPU, which is a department in the SEC that takes in all of the documents. They get the documents loaded into our e-discovery platform called CasePoint, and every document that's produced is loaded in by the matter number, the producing party, and the date produced.
What did you do to understand that the documents produced on the USB were produced by Soraka? What steps did you take, if any, that it was in the SEC system?
I opened the documents in here on this thumb drive. And on another monitor I opened up the same document in the case point system by Bates number.
And did you open every document that was on that USB drive?
I did.
And what did you compare each and every document to that was on the USB drive?
The number of pages, the title of the page and the Bates number.
And the Bates numbers, what entity were they associated with in the SEC systems?
Siraka Media Group.
Mr. Finkel said, Government renews offering the documents I outlined before.
Mr. Skirek said, same objection, Your Honor.
The court said, they're admitted.
Government's exhibits SM 11, SM 12, SM 17, SM 18, SM 19, SM 21, SM 73, SM 96, SM 126, SM 127, SM 129, SM 130, SM 133, SM 147, SM 149, SM 151, SM 155, SM 156, SM 159, SM 170, SM 176, SM 178, SM 181, SM 210, SM 217, SM 218, SM 224, SM 226, SM 235, SM 252, SM 277, SM 283, SM 296 through SM 299 received in evidence. By Mr. Finkel.
Mr. Johnson, can you describe to the jury what is a subpoena?
A subpoena is a request for information that we send out in the course of an investigation.
And were you a part of an investigation concerning Siraka personally?
No.
Were you personally a part of an investigation concerning Miles Gwa?
No.
Or GTV?
No.
Or G-Coins?
No.
Aside from your testimony today, and the preparation you did including the review you just described, did you have any other involvement in this case?
No.
Can we pull up GXSM 77? Is this one of the documents that Siraka produced?
It is.
You see at the top it says Siraka Media Group Incorporated Payment Request Form?
Yes.
And then below that it says name of payee, Voice of Gwa Media Incorporated. You see that?
Yes.
What's the payment amount?
$7,875.
There are two letters next to that. Do you see the two letters at the top?
MK.
Do you know what MK stands for?
No.
Can we go to the next page? Am I correct, Mr. Johnson? This document was attached to the payment request form?
Yes.
And can you read what that says underneath the image of the check that says Voice of Gwa Media?
Yes. Hi, Max. The principal has engaged new developers to develop the G News and they urgently need to pay $78.75 US. Could you pay through the followings? Routing number is.
You don't have to read those. Do you know who the principal is?
No.
If we can go to the next page, Ms. Loftus, and the page after that. Below where it says thanks can they send contract today, can you read what it says?
No, still negotiating, but the principal wants to pay today. We could pay without contract first. Thanks.
We can take that down if we could put up SM 283. Mr. Johnson. Who is the payee for this particular payment request form from Siraka Media Group?
Yvette Wang.
Do you know who she is?
No.
And what's the total payment amount to Yvette Wang?
$30,906.56.
If we can go to SM-296. Who's the payee of this document?
Y.A. Lee.
And how much is the amount?
$2,850.
And if we can go to the next page, do you see the date in the top left?
Yes.
What's the date?
April 27, 2020.
You can take that down, if we could put up SM-178. And here in this Sirocco Media Group payment request form. Mr. Johnson, who is the payee?
Max Krasner.
Do you know who that is?
No.
What's the amount that Max Krasner was paid?
$30,906.56.
We can put up SM-73, please. Who is the payee on this document?
Aaron Mitchell.
What's the date of the expense?
The 6th of March 2020.
And how much is the amount that Aaron Mitchell was due to be paid on this document?
$30,906.56.
And do you know one way or another whether these amounts were actually paid?
I don't.
If we can please go to SM-235. And what's the name of the payee for this document?
New England Home Inspections.
How much is the payment amount?
$1,750.
Can you read purpose of expense right sort of in the middle of your screen?
Building inspection.
For
Greenwich Land, 373 Taconic Road, Greenwich, Connecticut.
You ever been there? 373 Taconic?
No.
Ms. Loftus, can you zoom in on the bottom? There's a little asterisk. Can you read that asterisk, Mr. Johnson?
Payment request form must be approved by the Chief Operating Officer Gov't and/or Director of Operations Melissa.
You can take that down, and if we can put up SM-151. Who's the payee for this one?
Greenwich Land, LLC.
Do you know what that entity is?
No.
What's the amount?
$2 million.
If we can go to SM-147. What's the name of the payee listed on this one?
GoDaddy.
What's the amount?
$149.97.
Do you see the Bates number on the bottom right of the screen?
Yes.
What's the last four digit?
1,320.
Could we go to the next page, please? What's the last four digit of the Bates number on this one?
1,321.
Can you read this email that's attached?
Good morning, Max. Attach please find invoice number 4900 for the balance due for the completion of the fence. The remaining balance of $2,846.26 will be due when the painting is finished. Please kindly remit payment at your earliest convenience. Thanks very much, Bobby.
What does it say under Bobby?
Connecticut Fence and Landscaping, LLC, 16 Valmar Drive, New Milford, Connecticut.
Do you know if Greenwich is in Connecticut?
Yes.
Ms. Loftus, if we could pull up SM-126. Can you read the purpose of this expense, please?
glevel.org domain for G Fashion.
If we can pull up SM-133. What's the date of this expense on the lower right?
January 30th, 2020.
Can you read the itemized expense description right in the center?
Multiple hosting roles society.org security email ESR.
What does it say under expense account?
ROL, Rolf.
Do you know what the Rule of Law Society has to do with Sirocco Media Group?
No.
Can we pull up SM-176? You see at the top where it says Sirocco, sir?
Yes.
Can you make out what's crossed out underneath it?
Looks like Golden Spring, New York, Limited.
Do you know what relationship it is between Golden Spring and Sirocco?
No.
Take that down and put up SM-156, please. What's the name of this payee?
Hermes of Paris.
What's the amount?
$24,000.
And what are the names at the bottom of the document here?
Max Krasner, Yvette Wang.
Can you go to the next page, please, Ms. Loftus. Can you zoom in at the top of that receipt, please? Can you read the top of that receipt, please?
Hermes of Paris HOP Greenwich, 289 Greenwich Avenue, Greenwich, Connecticut.
What's the name under the customer information?
Yangping Wang.
Can you zoom out of that, please? You can look at 210. What's the payee for this document?
G Fashion Media Group Incorporated.
How much was this payment request form for?
$200,000.
Now, if we can look at SM11, Mr. Johnson, is this one of the documents that Soraka Media produced to the SEC?
Yes.
Heyman Hong Kong Opportunities Onshore Fund, LP. You see that?
Yes.
Do you know what that is?
No.
If we can, Ms. Loftus, go to 26 pages in approximately. Can you read what it says at the top?
Heyman Hong Kong Opportunities Onshore Fund, LP, Investor Profile. Investor name Soraka Media Group Incorporated. Capital contribution $100 million. Investor type, beneficial holder. Briefly identify the subscriber's primary source of wealth. Selling shares of subsidiary.
If you can go back, Ms. Loftus, 2 pages. And who, according to this document, signed as president?
Yangping Wang.
And what's the total requested capital contribution at the bottom?
$100 million.
Requested closing date?
June 8, 2020.
If we could put up, please, Ms. Loftus, SM12. Mr. Johnson. Is this another document that Soraka Media Group produced to the SEC in response to a subpoena?
Yes.
And who, according to this letter dated July 15, 2020, whose attention was this letter sent?
William J.E., Max Krasner, Yvette Wang and Aaron Mitchell.
Can you read the second paragraph as the general partner?
As the general partner to the fund in the performance of its continuing diligence and compliance with the securities laws. Heyman requires a response to the following. What was the source of capital used by Soraka Media Group Incorporated? Soraka to invest in the group.
Do you know if Soraka ever answered that question?
On the previous slide.
Can you read the third bullet, please?
If the proceeds were derived from securities offering. Did the offering documents disclose the use of proceeds to include investment in the fund or in any similar private fund vehicle? If yes, please provide a copy of the disclosure agreement.
Do you know if the disclosure agreement was provided to any of these?
No.
What's the date of this document?
July 15, 2020.
Ms. Loftus, you could pull up SM11 again at page 24. What's the date here?
June 3, 2020.
So this is before the letter that we just looked at as SM12?
Yes.
Mr. Finkel said, Your Honor, at this time the government offers a stipulation. At this time the government offers a stipulation between the parties, which is GX Stip 19.
Mr. Skirek said, no objection.
The court said, it is admitted.
Government's Exhibit GX Stip 19 received in evidence.
Mr. Finkel said, I'll read it. It is hereby stipulated and agreed by the United States of America and Miles Gwa, the defendant, that an employee of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, would testify as follows. 1. The SEC is an independent federal agency whose mission is, among other things, to protect investors, maintain fair, orderly, and efficient markets, and facilitate capital formation. 2. Following an SEC investigation, on July 28, 2021, Soraka Media Group Incorporated, Soraka, agreed to a settlement with the SEC concerning civil administrative allegations by the SEC that Soraka, GTV Media Group, GTV, and Voice of Gwa Media Incorporated, VOG, conducted an unregistered securities offering through the GTV private placement. The consent settlement was memorialized into a written agreement, the settlement agreement. which was signed by Yinping Wang on behalf of Soraka. Pursuant to the settlement agreement, Soraka, GTD and VOG have sent to the SEC $455,211,346.39 related to the GTD private placement, including $69, 713.578.06 from Soraka's investment in Heyman Capital Management, which was transmitted from the escrow account of Morvillo, Abramovitz, Grand, Iason and Anello, P.C., to the SEC. As of the date of this stipulation, Soraka and GTD together on a joint and several basis owe an additional $31,488,392.52 to the SEC, and VOG owes an additional $45,000, $45,324 to the SEC. The SEC established a fair fund to distribute the collected money to individuals and entities who had invested in the GTV stock offering and the G-Coins, G-Dollars offerings, after hiring an administrator to manage the distribution process, notifying investors, and collecting verification information from investors. Distribution to investors began on September 26, 2022. Through the Fair Fund, the SEC has distributed approximately $360,040,744.90 to approximately 4,835 investors throughout the world, including at least 31 investors in the Southern District of New York. The Fair Fund distribution process is ongoing. As part of the consent settlement with the SEC, Soraka, GTV, and VOG neither admitted nor denied the SEC's civil administrative allegations. The settlement agreement concerned allegations regarding an unregistered securities offering and did not allege any fraud by Soraka, GTV or VOG. The settlement agreement did not include any allegations of or conclusions as to criminal conduct. This stipulation may be received into evidence as an exhibit at trial, and it is signed dated June 21st and signed by the parties. Your Honor, at this time pursuant to GX Stip 8, the government offers from GXPRO series the following exhibits: 545, 544, 541, 539, 537, 535, 534, 533, 531, 526, 525, 523, 522, 521, 520, 508, 504, 488, 478, 477, 476, 473, 466, 467, 473, 474, 486, 489, 492, 494, 496, 498, 499, 506, 508, 509.
Mr. Skirik said, Your Honor, if I can just have one moment.
The court said yes.
Mr. Skirik said, No objection.
The court said, they're admitted.
Government's exhibits Pro 545, Pro 544, Pro 541, Pro 539, Pro 537, Pro 535, Pro 534, Pro 533, Pro 531, Pro 526, Pro 525, Pro 523, Pro 522, Pro 521, Pro 520, Pro 508, Pro 504, Pro 488, Pro 478, Pro 477, Pro 476, Pro 473, Pro 466, Pro 467, Pro 473, Pro 474, Pro 486, Pro 489, Pro 492, Pro 494, Pro 496, Pro 498, Pro 499, Pro 506, Pro 508, Pro 0509. By Mr. Finkel.
Mr. Johnson, do you know what promemoria is?
No.
If we can pull what's in evidence as Pro 466. If you can please go to page 19, Ms. Loftus, excuse me, page 20. If you can zoom in on the bottom, please, Ms. Loftus. You see at the top, Mr. Johnson, it says Gladys Chow?
Yes.
And her email ends at achktech?
Yes.
You don't know who she is?
No.
Can you read the text of the body of this email starting Hi, Paolo?
Hi, Paolo and Davide. Hope you both had a wonderful Thanksgiving and staying safe under the current circumstance. It has been almost a year since we last talked about the bronze statute. Please allow me to introduce myself again. I am Gladys, the assistant of Mr. Miles Kwok. I was using GladysSC at snias.com. And this is my new email address that I will be using moving forward. I am writing today mainly to relay a message. There is an upcoming project in New York, and we would like to buy some furniture from Promemoria. Both in-stock items and newly designed items. Mr. Guo would like to see if Davide would be able to come to New York for a meeting. He would like to discuss with Davide in person to let him know about the vision and see what could be achieved. Please let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you very much. Regards, Gladys Chow.
We can scroll up a bit, Ms. Loftus. And what's the date of this email?
December 2nd, 2021.
Can you just read the first sentence below, Dear Gladys?
Very nice to hear that Mr. Miles Kwok and you are all fine and healthy despite this crazy time due to COVID-19.
Who's this email from?
Paolo.
We can scroll up, please, Ms. Loftus. And can you read the response from Gladys Chow beginning this project?
This project is taking place in a mansion in Mahwah, New Jersey. The client would like to design 3 walk-in closet. Below is the link for the 3 rooms. They are all labeled accordingly.
That's fine. Thank you. And if we can scroll up a bit, please, Ms. Loftus. Do you see right here in February 2022 from Gladys Chow right below thank you? Can you read that?
Given the confidentiality of this project, could you please sign the attached NDA and return it to me? I will send over the floor plan shortly. Thank you.
If we can scroll up a bit, Ms. Loftus. We're going to about page 10. And so here it says, Hi, Paolo. Here are the links for the current design plan. Can you read what it says below link?
Kitchen cinema walk-in closet 01 Mrs.
And below the next link?
Closet 02, daughter, closet 03 son, closet 04, Mr.
Can you read the next sentence?
The clients do like the layouts of each rooms. The main thing is to be changed is the furniture.
And below that it says, below is the client's comment on the current plan. Do you see that?
Yes.
Then it says cinema. Do you see that?
Yes.
Can you read what it says page 6?
Seats layout, he prefer all 6 single chairs.
What's the heading below cinema?
Mrs. Closet 01.
Can you scroll down, Ms. Loftus? What's the heading below Mrs. Closet?
Daughter 02, sons 03, Mr. 0 for closets.
If we can scroll up please, Ms. Loftus. Can you read from Gladys Chow? It says Hi, Paolo. And can you read what it says below that?
Thank you for getting back to me. That sounds great. Would it be helpful if you visit the New Jersey property and take a look of all the rooms that need to be developed? Also, is there any traveling cost incurred on us for this trip? Regards.
Can we scroll up please, Ms. Loftus? This is also from Gladys Chow. Can you read where it says below Hi, Paolo the site address?
I am checking with the design firm to see.
Sorry, Mr. Johnson, if you can read from the site address the third line.
The site address is 675 Ramapo Valley Road, Marwan, New Jersey.
Mr. Skirek said, Your Honor, can we have another sidebar, please?
The court said yes.
Continued on next page. At the sidebar.
Mr. Skirek said, Your Honor, these documents, the promemoria documents relate to a design fit out by a designer. This witness has absolutely no knowledge of these documents. They have nothing to do with the SEC. Nothing to do with the SEC settlement. Nothing to do with what Soraka produced to the SEC. Instead, he's just being used to read these documents out loud to the jury.
The court said, 1 second. Weren't these produced to the SEC?
Mr. Skirek said, No.
The court said, so how do they come in?
Mr. Finkel said, These documents are in pursuant to a stipulation.
Mr. Skirek said, That's a completely different issue. It has nothing to do with the SEC.
The court said, if you stipulated that they be admitted, they're admitted, period.
Mr. Skirek said, Of course. Understood, Your Honor. My point is that they have nothing to do with this witness. And the government specifically is using this witness to read these documents aloud. And my understanding is they're in evidence. The government can argue from them of whatever they want to argue from them. And given frankly the premium and the emphasis that has been put on saving time and being efficient, I'm not sure why this SEC witness is reading from documents that were produced by a decorator. He has no knowledge or anything to do with this.
Mr. Finkel said, I'm happy to ask the witness if he knows anything or any involvement in the Mala property. The government will stipulate that he doesn't. We are actually being efficient by using one witness. Killing two birds in one stone, as they say. There are only a few of these documents. These are documents that the jury should see, and the government wants to present them as part of its case. The use of the Mala residence is a key issue. We've heard much about the secret base that Mr. Gov't allegedly intended it for. These documents show it was not a secret base. He was designing it for his family. So these are documents we want the jury to see. Could we put a paralegal on the stand to do this instead? I suppose we could. We thought it'd be efficient by using this witness. I have no problem asking the question to draw out the point that Mr. Skirek would like to be drawn out.
Mr. Skirek said, That's one point. The other point is, it is an efficiency point. The government has gotten these documents. We stipulated to them. The government can argue from the document. We don't need to sit here to read the documents.
The court said, well, they do have the right to have a witness read the documents, and it's just now going to be a question of which witness. We either sit here and deal with him or someone else.
Mr. Skirek said, Understood, Your Honor. But the alternative would be the documents are in evidence. The government could close on it. It was the same point that was made at sidebar to me not that long ago.
Mr. Finkel said, You had the whole white paper.
Mr. Skirek said, I had the opportunity to read it.
The court said, in your case you had shown sections of the white paper. You also showed sections of that chart. And you had people read from those documents.
Mr. Skirek said, Yes, I was referring to the witness earlier today, the summary witness, but that's fine. Certainly again if we're talking about efficiency here to have the SEC witness read from a bunch of decorators' documents. That doesn't seem like the most efficient thing, but I just wanted to point that out.
The court said, so how much more of this do you have?
Mr. Finkel said, maybe a couple of these documents. However, even though they're just documents, these are very important documents.
The court said, I'm just trying to understand how much more do we have to endure?
Mr. Finkel said, in fact, we're being very efficient. We were originally going to call Paolo Sazzi, who is the individual who interacted with Gladys Chow. We cut that witness to be efficient. This is the trade in our view instead of having Paolo Sazzi testify for an hour. Maybe cross for a time of choosing by the defense. We're just going to read a few documents. I don't have many. Maybe 3 or 4.
The court said time-wise?
Mr. Finkel said, for the rest of this witness?
The court said yes.
Mr. Finkel said, 15-ish minutes, 20 minutes.
The court said, that's not so bad. Very good.
Continued on next page. In open court.
The court said, sir, if you're reading from a document, don't read too fast because we have interpreters who need to translate as you're reading.
By Mr. Finkel.
Mr. Johnson, does the SEC have anything to do with 675 Ramapo Road in Mahwah, New Jersey?
I don't know.
Can we scroll up? Can you read the last line of this email from Gladys Chow to Paolo beginning? May I know?
May I know if you would be available after visiting the New Jersey house? The client would like to meet with you in the New York office after that.
Scroll up, please, Ms. Loftus. If you can zoom out of that so we can see the full email, please. Do you see the email, thank you, Paolo? And it says the client will be available?
Yes.
Can you read that?
Thank you, Paolo. The client will be available after 1 p.m. on Wednesday so we can go straight from New Jersey. 675 Ramapo Valley Road to the office after the site visit.
That's fine. Thank you. At the first page, Ms. Loftus, can you zoom in at the top, the very top? Do you see where it says Tourist Fund, LLC?
Yes.
Do you know what that is?
No.
If we can pull up Pro 531, please. Do you see where it says? Here are some more comments from the clients regarding the drawings.
Yes.
What does it say as number 1?
Daughter's closet.
And what does it say as number 5?
Mrs. Closet and son's closet.
We can go to the next page, please. This is from Gladys Chow on Monday, December 1st, 2022. Can you read where it says? Also, the client is unable to go?
Also, the client is unable to go to the city this week. Could you meet him in Greenwich, Connecticut instead?
Keep going. Keep reading, please.
The address 373 Taconic Road, Greenwich, New York. Please let me know at 12:15 Thursday 3 p.m. will work for you. If not, we could move things around.
That's fine. Thank you. If we could pull up Pro 536. If we can go to the third page. Here it says, Hi. Paolo. Thank you for the info. The client would like to order the following, and there's some information. And it says, please deliver the table to the following addresses. Do you see that?
Yes.
675 Ramapo, 337 Taconic and 3 Columbus Circle. Is that correct?
Yes.
If we could pull up Pro 477. Can you read the sentence under Hi Paolo?
The client would like to convert the family lounge into a new kitchen and would like promemoria to design as well. Attached are the floor plan for the new kitchen and pictures of how the room looks like now. Please let me know if there are any questions. Thank you.
You see at the top left it says Kitchen Floor Plan PDF?
Yes.
If we can pull up Pro 3478. You see on the lower right side sort of in the bubble. Can you read that? It says New Kitchen there. On the left side of the document, what does that say?
Crocker Residence Mahwah, New Jersey, Crocker Residence Mahwah, New Jersey.
If we can pull up Pro 486 at page 17. Can you read that email from Gladys Chow?
Hi Paolo. For the contract, could you please remove all the addresses of the property and the contract will be entered between Promemoria and HCHK Property Management Incorporated. Thank you.
We could pull up Pro 506. Can you read, this is November 5th, 2022, here are the client's comments. Can you read them?
Spa room put on hold for now until further notice. Son's closet need lighter and warmer color wood for all furniture. Need chandelier design for the room. Thank you very much.
If we could pull up Pro 541. Can you read below where it says thank you, Paolo?
This defective one is the purple-colored one. You can see it tomorrow, New Jersey location. Regards.
If we can pull up 534. What's at the top? It says RE, New Jersey. Do you see that?
Yes.
Can you read that?
RE, New Jersey project, updated info.
And then it says, "Hi, Paolo. May I know if all the design plans are read for the client to review or not?" Did I read that right?
Yes.
If we could pull up please 508. It says, "Hi, Paolo. Here are the client's comments on the cinema." Can you read what it says for chairs?
Remove 2 chairs in the front row and at the armrest. Can the team add more storage spaces for like phones, keys, etc.?
What does it say for ceiling?
Add stars throughout the ceiling. Can use the velvet from the wall as the main material. Client likes the soft furry touch.
What does it say for screen?
Makes it as big as possible please, fully utilize the wall.
And what about overall vibe?
Good, but if it could be more futuristic likes in the universe it would be even better.
Last one, Pro 523. Let's try Pro 522. We'll do 476. What does it say on the lower right?
Crocker Residence, Marwar, New Jersey.
Can we zoom out of that, please? Can you zoom in the whole panel of the left? What does that say in the center in red?
Madam's closet.
Do you know who the madam is?
No.
Mr. Finkel said, "Nothing further."
Cross-examination. By Mr. Skirick.
Good afternoon, Mr. Johnson. Just a few questions. Do you know anything about the building located in Moa, New Jersey that you were just asked to read about?
No.
Do you know anything about a company called Promemoria?
I don't.
Do you know anything about a building called Crocker Mansion?
No.
Do you know anything about a renovation project related at that property?
No.
Do you have any information or knowledge about what use was made of that property?
No.
Do you have any knowledge or information about who used it?
No.
Do you have any idea why Mr. Finkel had you read all those documents when you know nothing about it?
No.
Now, you testified on direct about the SEC's mission, right?
Yes.
And I believe you said that among other things the SEC investigates securities fraud, is that right?
Yes.
Now, isn't it true that the SEC also investigates potential issues with securities laws that have nothing to do with fraud?
Yes.
And if we could just please bring up GX Stip 19. You remember that Mr. Finkel read this stipulation a bit earlier to you just a few minutes ago.
Yes.
And this is, as you understand it, an agreement stipulation and agreement between the defense and the government as to certain facts. Is that fair?
Yes.
And if we could just go to paragraph 5. And this says, as part of the consent settlement with the SEC, Mr. Johnson, are you familiar with consent settlements?
Not particularly.
Fair enough. As part of the consent settlement with the SEC, Soraka, GTV and VOG neither admitted nor denied the SEC civil administrative allegations. The settlement agreement concerned allegations regarding an unregistered securities offering and did not allege any fraud by Soraka, GTV or VOG. The settlement agreement did not include any allegations or conclusions as to criminal conduct. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Mr. Skirick said, "Thank you. No further questions."
Mr. Finkel said, "Nothing further."
The court said, "You may step out, and the government may call its next witness."
Witness excused.